Tara Love. Hey Mina. Thank you for coming in early. Appreciate you all. Please remember to hit that thumbs up button, folks, and subscribe. All right, quite a few things to get through today. I'm tired, y'all. I'm tired. I know y'all are tired of certain things, but here we are, and this is the world we live in. Tired just pretty much sums it all up. Tired of being tired. Dear oh dear. All right. Let's start with some laughs, because we have to try and find humor in some things so that we just don't cry at how just diabolical and terrible everything is. So there's the famous meme, hang it in the Louvre, and well, a picture that will go down in history of Andrew looking like he's seen a ghost. They probably saw the ghost of Prince Philip in the back of the car, was actually hung in the Louvre. And they actually managed to do this without being yelled at by security guards. But hey, we know that the Louvre security is awful. This was done by the activist group Everyone Hates Elon. Rather funny protest. I do wonder how long that was there. But they've been doing quite a few of these protests. They had an image of Andrew and Epstein projected on Windsor Castle when Trump was in the UK. They also made merchandise, Trump and Epstein and Andrew merchandise, and put it in the Windsor Castle gift store. And they've also been setting up billboards all over London. So bravo to the activist group. Boo, Rotten Tomatoes, get out of the picture to Camilla. I feel like Camilla is actually yet to get her karma. I mean, I know she is very much disliked, but I feel like she has not really gotten her karma yet. I feel like it's coming still. So Camilla invited Giselle Pelicot for a reception. If you don't know who Giselle is a woman who waived her anonymity after it was discovered that for decades her former husband, had been inviting dozens of men, up to 80 that were caught on camera. But I think only 30 or 40 went on trial. So they still don't have all of the men that were showing up to assault her while she was unconscious, because her former husband, was drugging her. And she had no recollection of these attacks at all because she was completely knocked out. She thought that there was something wrong with her. Can I also give a shout out to activist Gina Martin? Because it was also now coming out that the reason Giselle's husband was found out was because he was taking pictures of women up their skirts. Now, he had done this previously, but it wasn't an offence at the time. Thanks to Gina Martin, a UK feminist activist, lawmakers in France also adopted the law. So that's how he was caught the second time, and that's how, when the police arrested him and looked at his phone, they found the images of Giselle. There's actually been a couple more cases, a couple more women, 2 in the UK, 1 in Germany in the last year, that have now come forward with similar stories. Like, this is unfortunately a horror that I think is gonna be even more uncovered. But because Giselle came out, I think that has encouraged more women to come out. And one of the women, Joanne Young, I think her name is, from the UK, she also decided to go public. Part of Giselle's message has been shame must change sides. So that's who Giselle is, if you don't know. Giselle is promoting her book. Camilla continues to want to position herself as an advocate for women who have been abused, despite doing absolutely nothing impactful and very much being part of cycles of abuse herself towards Diana, and also staying silent and likely being part of the smear campaign that abused Meghan. She said nothing about when Meghan spoke up about her SCIDal ideations. She did not speak out about the bullying against Meghan the entire time that Meghan was within the royal fold. And she continues this fast PR campaign where she's trying to position herself as an advocate for women. And this is her latest attempt using Giselle. I will also say, if I'm completely honest, as much as I have respect for Giselle and what she's done, I'm also disappointed in her, allowing herself to be used in this way. The culture that enabled Giselle's husband, former husband, and men who assaulted her while unconscious for decades is the same culture that is upholding a system of abuse where men like Andrew and Epstein can get away with what they can get away with. The only difference between Andrew and Epstein and the men that abused Giselle is that one set of men has money and the others do not. The men that abused Giselle are the Epsteins and Andrews that walk amongst us. And there is zero accountability in our society, or very limited accountability for these men. And right now, the British royal family are being very silent about the part in which they played in fostering that environment and culture. And I would have thought that Giselle would have been wise enough to see that and recognize that, and not at this time meet with any member of the British royal family. But neither her or anybody in her PR team, at least, seems to have stopped and thought, you know what, this is probably a bad idea to allow yourself to be used as a prop like this. But here we are. I believe that Camilla will get what's coming to her. And I believe she'll get what's coming to her when William's finally king. I think Camilla thinks that she can outmaneuver William. And I don't think Camilla fully realizes just how insane of a king that William is going to be. I think she still believes in her arrogance that she's going to be able to outmaneuver William. I mean, she tried to put her family front and center during the coronation. But hey, Camilla, she's the survivor. And she scraped her knees to be able to get where she is now. So, I don't know. Maybe Camilla has a few more tricks up her sleeve. A good dog usually does. But we're going to see how it goes down when it's her and William alone up in that palace. Thank you, Elaine Parker, for being a member for 44 months, and Kat Harlem for 43 months. Appreciate you both. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, also for streaming in. Appreciate all of the members. By the way, if you do want to join membership, I will put the link in the chat. You can become a member either for YouTube or buy me a coffee, but Buy Me a Coffee is always preferred just because YouTube takes such a big cut of creators' funds. Well, that's that. I do wonder, is Camilla going to read Virginia's memoir as well? She says that she read Giselle's memoir and it left her speechless. Is she going to read Virginia Goffrey's memoir as well? Did she ever read Diana's memoir? The royals have been an absolute mess this week. A diabolical, tone-deaf mess. They are desperate to distance themselves from Andrew. And it's just not going to work. And of course, it's one of the reasons why Kate and William showed up to BAFTA. I think if it wasn't for all of this mess, I don't think they would have showed up to BAFTA. They were on vacation, yet another vacation anyway. William doesn't do anything for the film industry or BAFTA any other time of the year. They didn't show up last year to BAFTA. You got Meghan and Harry and Archwell supporting independent film, producing movies and TV. But the whole direct head of BAFTA, William, I think it's President is his official title, does absolutely nothing for the British film industry. Nothing. And I'm sorry, but William is not beating them allegations, because look at the body language and distance between William and Kate in that photo. And the whole night, by the way, they were like this. Not just this photo. The whole night, they were like this. Look at the distance between them. And look at the distance, or closeness rather, between Jason and William. And also, if you look at the picture of William sitting at the BAFTAs, he's closer to the woman on his left than he is to Kate. The whole night, if you look at the footage of them walking into the event, he's not even looking at her. And I have always had a rule on this channel that I don't comment on the appearance of royal women and their bodies. It's just a rule that I've had for as long as I've had this podcast. I think anyone that's been around long enough knows that I'm very strict about this. But all I'm gonna say is, those who claim to care about Kate, I don't believe you when you say you care about her. Because there's no way that you can be looking at her right now in this picture, or how she's been looking the last couple years, and ignore what we can all see with our very eyes. And it's almost as if, as long as Kate upholds this illusion, Kate in the pretty dresses, they willingly choose to ignore what anybody with their eyes can see, is all I'm going to say. Now, also at the BAFTA, this incident happened. I want to say, first of all, congratulations to Ryan Coogler, who won, I think it was Best Screenplay, because that has been completely overshadowed by this drama. So, John Davison, who is an advocate and sufferer of Tourette's disease, during the part of the BAFTA show when Michael B. Jordan and Delroy, I forget his second name, was on the, let me get the article up, but you had two African American actors on stage, and he blurted out the N-word. Now, what makes all of this even more insidious is the BAFTAs are aired on BBC on a 2-hour delay. They did not choose to edit out the very audible N-word being yelled out But you know what they did edit out? They edited out a man who spoke up for Palestine. So the BBC edited that out, but they did not edit out two black African American actors being called the N-word on live British TV. Oh, it wasn't even live. There was a 2-hour delay. Also, interestingly enough, E! News, that had a heads up about all of this, also did not edit it out. Now, John Davidson took a whole 24 hours to make a statement. In his statement, I'm going to read an article about this. He does not directly mention Delroy Lindo and Michael B. Jordan, and he also does not apologize. Now, while one wants to be understanding that Tourette's is a condition that does cause involuntary tics and things to be said, to me, I find it very selfish still that this individual wants grace and sympathy for his condition, but he does not want to extend sympathy for how hurtful what he said was. Whether or not it was intentional, in my opinion, doesn't matter. Whether or not he said it because of his condition, in my opinion, doesn't matter. A good person, an empathetic person, would still apologize. And you cannot expect us to have sympathy for your condition if you cannot also have sympathy and understanding for what you said, intentional or not, would have been very hurtful. Not just to the two men who were standing on stage and completely dazed, for all of us that were watching and all of us that have had to be subjected to 48 hours of social commentary of people dismissing how hurtful what happened. And to me, it just reeks of audacity. It just reeks of, this is how we see you, that the BBC did not blur this out. And this was aired. And there has actually been no explanation from the BBC or BAFTA as to why they allowed that to air, but they censored out somebody saying Free Palestine. There's been no explanation regarding that at all. And there was a lot of very prominent black talent at this year's BAFTAs. It's probably one of the most diverse BAFTAs I've seen in a while. That, to me, made it even more suspect. Somebody on Twitter saying, he can't control his tics. Yes, we know. We also can't control the hundreds of years of brutality and discrimination behind the N-word. Why are you telling us to STFU and feel nothing? Why are you bashing people on the receiving end of a slur? And somebody else said, it's so sweet that the far left and right have come together once again to scream at black people on Twitter for refusing to just excuse R-ism. Happens more and more these days. The horseshoe theory prevails, indeed. It would just be so simple to say, yes, I have this condition and I'm very sorry. Mind you, he also, when he met the Queen, said F the Queen. And when he met a cancer survivor, said, I hope you die of cancer. And I would think in those two other... I do wonder in those two other situations if he apologized. I don't know. But it's very... I feel very bad for the two men who were on that stage and the other people in other black people in the audience who also had to hear that. Let me just okay. So to recap, John Davidson is a British man living with Tourette's syndrome. The British film Swear is loosely based on Davidson's real-life experiences living with Tourette's. I Swear was nominated for several BAFTAs, and as such, Davidson was invited to the BAFTAs on Sunday. Before the award show began, there was an announcement that Davidson was present and that BAFTA attendees might hear some outbursts from him. Soon after the show began, Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo came out as presenters. Davidson then screamed the N-word at them. Jordan and Lindo's faces fell and the whole tenor of the award show shifted. While Davidson reportedly left the show for the last half, he was back in the room long enough to shout the N-word at two other black people, including Sinner's production designer, Hannah Blitcher. Oh, so I didn't actually realize that he did it again. One of the most tragic and infuriating parts of the ordeal was watching too many people extend grace and empathy to Davidson while refusing to acknowledge the impact of Davidson's words. Intent doesn't matter when two BAFTA-nominated actors have to stand by silently as someone screams out an RS slur at them in front of their colleagues and friends. To make matters even worse, BAFTA host Alan Cunningham repeatedly asked for compassion for Davidson alone, not the black artists who had to hear the slurs aimed at them. Cumming also offered an apology, a non-apology if you were offended. Not only did the BBC air the slur unedited from their delayed podcast, but the BBC and BAFTA organisation refused to apologise to Lindo, Jordan and Blitcher in real time. Lindo told Vanity Fair that BAFTA producers didn't even speak to him afterwards. Well, after a full 24-hour cycle of discourse, outrage and education, both Davidson and BAFTA issued statements. BAFTA's non-apology stated, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they said, in part, at the BAFTA Awards last night, our guests heard very offensive language that carries incomparable trauma and pain for so many. We want to acknowledge the harm this has caused, address what happened and apologize to all. They then went on to talk about his Tourette's. They then said, we take the duty of care to all of our guests very seriously and start from a position of inclusion. I mean, that still doesn't explain why you did not edit out the N-word, but you edited out Free Palestine. It doesn't make any sense. To me, it seems almost deliberate. Anyway, congratulations to Ryan Coogler, who won the Screenplay Award. Congratulations to Wimney Masaku, who also won Best Supporting Actress. And Sinners also won for Best Score. And I'm so sorry that all of them had their evening ruined by this. And I just find it so audacious that Davidson is so heavily emphasizing that his campaign is geared towards increasing compassion for himself while refusing to acknowledge the impact, however unintentional, of his words were, which were enormously harmful. And then waiting a whole 24 hours to acknowledge what happened, and only probably acknowledging what happened because there was so much backlash. And, you know, both Michael B. Jordan and Delroy are US stars. If they don't want to create a safe space for everyone, why then should you get the star power of somebody like Michael B. Jordan or Delroy Lindo? Why should you enjoy the star power that they bring to your little award show in your little auditorium? I mean, this is meant to be the biggest award show for a British film. Doesn't compare at all to the Oscars. But you want that American star power But when African American artists come and help you to have that, this is what they get. I would say to any person of color from the US or from the UK, don't go to the BAFTAs ever again. Now, William, of course, has said nothing. William, president of BAFTA, has said nothing. And I think he should say something. When Davison blurted F the Queen, he allegedly apologized multiple times. So why can't he do the same for Delroy and Michael? Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, look. BBC has shown their behinds so many times in so many ways. The same organisation that kept on Hugh Edwards despite complaints about him, the same organisation that protected Jimmy Savile. So are we surprised? No, we're not. Wendy, you said it was intentionally aired. Let's see how the Oscars respond. Well, Warner Brothers, who are the maker and distributor of Sinners, went after BAFTA immediately with a quickness. And I think that's part of also what prompted BAFTA to finally say something after 24 hours. But they still did not acknowledge that how this would have hurt these two men and everyone else in the room who had to hear this. Oh, Helen, you said, please, let's help Brian Family Podcast. He needs some help. The rain has done a lot of damage on his property. Oh, I didn't. Is there some kind of fundraiser for him, or okay? If anybody wants to post the link to Brian's podcast, if he's made some kind of video explaining what's been going on. Sorry, I haven't watched his channel this week, so I didn't know. But yeah, if there's something going on with the community member, please absolutely do what you can to help. Sorry, I missed that message. I didn't see that. I'll have a check on his channel, and then if there's anything we can do, I'll mention it tomorrow. Thank you so much for writing that. Let's have a look. I bet if he ticked about Andrew, it would have been edited with a quickness. Exactly. I bet if he had yelled, Andrew is a nonce, what did you know about Andrew and Epstein? That would have been edited out real quick. Right, also, William. Y'all, when I tell you William is not ready. William is not ready at all. Because did you hear what William said when they asked him about the movies that he had watched as BAFTA president? He said that he did watch Sinners, and his summary of Sinners, you know what he said? It was a bit dark. Yes, that's what he said. That's all he had to say about Sinners. It was a bit dark. Yikes, indeed. A very, very poor choice of words. Now, granted, I haven't watched Sinners. I don't know what type of movie it is. It could well just be a dark drama, and that's what he meant. But to use the words a bit dark, and for those words to be coming out of William's mouth, yeah, sounds rather William, doesn't it? Oh dear. I mean, it was already awkward enough for William and Kate to show up, and then this debacle happened. He was also asked about Hamnet, which is another movie. I don't know what happens in that movie, but William responded by saying, I need to be in quite a calm state, and I am not at the moment. Oh, we can tell, sir. We can tell that you are not in a calm state at all. I mean, look at the body language between him and Kate. She's proper looking at him like, notice me. Notice me. And he's looking away from her. And he was doing this the whole night, by the way. The whole night. This was the body language. Yes, very poorly executed crisis management all around. Maybe the BAFTAs can hire William's crisis manager. Sinners covers the Black American experience in the 1930s along a vampire movie. Yes, William does indeed sound ridiculous. Thank you for that summary. I have not watched Sinners yet. Okay. Next thing. Let's have a look at this story. There's actually quite a lot to get through. Whoa, this is going to be probably like an hour plus, maybe 2 hour podcast. Charles. Now, for the past year, William has been briefing as if his father is very much on the outs. Now, as far as we know, Charles is receiving treatment and his condition improved. Now, of course, what the palace want to tell us and what's actually going on, two very different things. I still believe that the Queen was unwell for some time and they knew that she was dying and they just didn't tell us, and they had her working until pretty much her last weeks. And I think they will probably do the same for Charles. But now you have a royal reporter claiming that Charles's funeral plans are starting. Now, granted, the funeral plans for a royal are always being updated constantly. And they get updated, you know, as the royal ages, as, you know, times change. You know, a plan for a royal funeral in the 90s would not be the same plan for a royal funeral now with social media and all of this kind of stuff, right? So the plans for royal funeral get updated all the time. And also depending on the rank of the royal at the time, and all of that. So a funeral for Charles, if he had passed away when he was still Prince Charles, would have been a very different funeral from the funeral that he will get now when he passes as king. So funeral plans for royal aren't exactly unusual. But what is unusual is for somebody like Kevin Maguire, who is a senior correspondent who has been on this beat for a very long time, writing about funeral plans for Charles in this way. So he posted, "Bit not said out loud as preparations are starting for a state funeral and coronation. I'm told 12 months. No wonder William Mountbatten Windsor isn't calm when he faces questions about what he knew about Uncle Andrew and could soon inherit the crisis." I also think this is why William is briefing the way he's briefing. He's got the crisis manager. They are trying to do a cleanup job before Charles goes. So would it surprise me if this is true? No. Kevin Maguire, I would, in terms of all of the royal reporters, I would say he was one of the more balanced ones. He was the one, if you remember, when Piers Morgan was still on Good Morning Britain, who said when people find out what actually happened behind the scenes, that they would change their minds about what they think about Harry and Meghan. Or all of the people who criticize Harry and Meghan would change their minds. Now, he didn't go into detail. He also said at the time, for legal reasons, he couldn't go into detail, but people would change their minds. Now, there's 100 things that have happened since he said that, that illustrate what he could have been alluding to. But for him to now be writing this, you know, Kevin Maguire, I wouldn't put him down as like he's not a Camilla Tominey. He's not a Katie Nichol. He's not a Becky Andrews. Becky English, sorry. And Charles is looking unwell. I mean, with treatment, people can live for some time, but he has not been looking well. And even Harry alluded that something might be wrong. Anyway, let's have a read of this article. There's a wide range of editorials, everything from sedate commentary on the need for more royal transparency to somewhat hysterical sounding Daily Mail columns about the need for Charles to abdicate. Well, here's another one coming from a political reporter, analyst Kevin Maguire from the Daily Mirror. He posted a link to his column alongside some commentary which didn't make it into his editorial, that there are preparations afoot for King Charles's funeral in the next 12 months, and that the Scooter King will soon inherit the Andrew crisis. As many people are already pointing out in Maguire's comments, funeral planning has been ongoing for more than 2 years already. King Charles began adjusting his funeral plans as soon as he was diagnosed with cancer in 2024, but I honestly believe that Charles's treatments have improved his condition, which is what he announced last December. There's been a noticeable drop in urgency when people speak about William's eventual reign and Charles's health. So I don't know. Maybe Maguire is just talking from general funeral plans, or maybe this is yet another open secret among the British press. As for Maguire's column, here is a snippet. Democracy group Republic calculates that the hereditary firm cost us in excess of over $500 million in grants. Hang on a sec, folks. Just have to do something. Okay. Heightening public scrutiny and accountability is, thanks to the files on Andrew's benefactor Jeffrey Epstein, lifting veils that can never again be lowered. Indeed. I don't think that William can have a massive coronation. I don't even think he can have a medium-sized coronation. I think that he should have a town hall coronation. Just dress up in a suit, go put that crown on his head, make him happy. And then we all go home and we can have like a barbecue tea in the backyard. Please don't be doing all of that big coronation. I even think that they will have issues with Charles's funeral. Because remember when the Queen passed away, right? They had to take her hearse all the way up and down the country, and everywhere they went, you had someone screaming about Andrew and Epstein. Now imagine that this time with everything that's happened since then. I believe that there will be outright massive protests this time. Not just one or two hecklers in the crowd. Now there's also been calls for Charles to abdicate, but I believe a lot of that is just briefing from William's side. And, you know, William, I believe, just wants power for power's sake. He is perfectly fine casting himself as some kind of Shakespearean villain, exiling his brother and taking out his father. But what comes next? After all of Scooter's power plays, William is a man without a plan. And more than that, he's a man who's too lazy to actually make any real moves. Oh dear, oh dear. Right, let's go to your comments before we keep it moving. I stand by my prediction that Andrew will not make it to the end of the year. They are, and we're going to get into this in a second, they are already painting him as some victim who needs help. Well, he definitely needs help, even though I think he's beyond help, but he's not a victim. The best help you could actually give Andrew is to lock him away and keep him away from everyone. Let him sit with his thoughts for the rest of his life. That's the help that Andrew needs. Solitary confinement in a jail cell. Okay, next thing. What was I gonna talk about next? Oh yes, okay. Let me play this clip from, this was from Jeremy Vine. Yeah, this was from Jeremy Vine. Absolutely mental.
In the end, all the people he's offended for all those decades have suddenly now turned around and pointed at him. And when it comes to the hue and cry, you know, and I know you hate Sue, who's in Devon. In the end, all the people he's offended for all those decades have suddenly now turned around and pointed at him. And when it comes to the hue and cry, you know, and I know you hate that aspect of our national character, you know, where people are tarring and feathering somebody almost as prey, he's been used as a lightning rod for all the anger that people feel about so many other things, and that's what's happening.
I just think simply because you don't like somebody who you've never met before and never will meet doesn't mean that you should be treating this as some blood sport. I mean, what we are demanding now is, at least based on the evidence that is currently in the public domain and is all allegations at this stage, it goes, in my view, way too far. We're absolutely hounding this man.
You may well be right. You may well be right.
We want him to be stripped. He's been stripped of all of his baubles. There are people who demand that he be exiled. Where's he going to be exiled to? Stripped of any money. How is we expecting him to be?
He can
we
go
want him to be ostracised from all of his family.
This woman is actually sitting here and talking about this privileged ogre like I should feel sorry for him with the same sympathy I have for the average person who's in the UK right now sleeping rough this evening because they don't have a home. Because contrary to what Prince William said, he still hasn't ended homelessness. It's a story I've told a few times on this podcast, but I'll tell it again. I will never forget one morning I woke up. I had a very early meeting. I was in the underground about 6 a.m. and I counted at least 5 homeless men sleeping on the underground. I've never seen that in my life. Maybe one person in the afternoon in the cold, 5 people in the early morning sleeping on the underground. And you want me to feel sorry for this terrible ogre who has lived his entire life in privilege, getting away with what he's been getting away with, being friends with nefarious individuals like Epstein, and you want to sit there and be like, oh, where's he going to go? What is he going to do? How's he going to get money? Meanwhile, our own people are sleeping on Britain's streets while we're paying for the privileges that Andrew enjoys. There should not be a single homeless person on the streets of a highly developed country like the UK. The fact that we have that level of poverty while spending hundreds of millions on a royal family is insane.
Under police investigation, so he can't be exiled, but that is an option. In the end, all the people he's offended for all those decades have suddenly now turned around and pointed at him.
Okay. Well, there was also this other lady. Let's have a listen to this.
Sue, who's in Devon. Sue, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, personally, I don't think he should be removed because of all the cost and everything included.
So what this lady is saying, that Andrew shouldn't be removed from the line of succession because I guess it would cost us money to remove him. But how much is it costing us to keep him there? And she's saying we shouldn't remove him from the line of succession because of how much it would cost. How does she even know how much it would cost? How did she calculate that?
Because
Where's the
he's
cost
never
coming
been
in?
tried. He hasn't been tried in a court of law of anything.
Yeah.
What happened to being innocent until you're proven guilty in this?
The thing is that the power structure that we have is preventing us from having him go to the court of law and be questioned. He's using his privileges to avoid that. And that's what this fool speaking on the phone doesn't seem to understand. How can he be tried in the court of law when his privileges mean that he can avoid it? That he can pay £12 million to a victim that is now dead?
In this country.
So he is guilty of lying. He is guilty of hanging about with a convicted sex offender after he's been convicted.
He's not the only one.
That doesn't make
He's the only one who's in line to the throne.
Hundreds of other people that have been friends with.
Yeah, they're not in line for.
But their names.
I mean, yeah, there's loads of other people that also have been involved with Epstein. Are those people part of the royal family, your royal family that you pay taxes for? No, they're not. The ones who were involved in with Epstein from our country, we need to be dealing with them. It's within our jurisdiction to deal with them. And surely we should be holding members of the royal family to a higher standard. Saying, oh, the other people were involved, that's not an excuse. So does that mean that we should then not go after Andrew? And I've said before on this channel that I believe that Andrew is being used as a fool person. I've said that. But that doesn't mean that we don't look at him and his behavior critically and call for accountability.
They're not in line for the throne. I'm just trying to list the things that we can say that he has damaged the reputation.
But he's not been convicted in a court of law.
But does he have
and
to
until
be?
he is, he shouldn't be removed.
But so does somebody have to be convicted of a crime, to go as far as committing a crime to prove themselves unworthy of the throne? Surely, just in the way that you conduct yourself and you behave could stop you from being seen as somebody that would have the personality to take to the throne.
Yeah, but Storm, if you want to remove Andrew, then you should remove Harry and his wife and children.
Why?
Because see what Harry has done to the British monarchy.
Because of the book.
Yeah.
And that comes into the discussion. Well, perhaps maybe we need to look at a different way of producing that list of people.
There'll be no royal family list at the minute.
Right. Okay, well...
I mean, again, this ridiculous comparison of Harry and Andrew. This is what we're dealing with. And you can tell that caller is just parroting nonsense from the tabloids. Because there is absolutely no way that you can compare, even if you disagree with anything Harry has said. All he's said is the truth of his family. Now, I'm so sorry that shatters your fantasy of royalty, but that is not comparable to hanging out with a convicted PDF file and partaking in nefarious activities. You've literally had 2 new rounds of photos coming out of Andrew with a woman lying on the floor and Andrew with an infant. playing with a boob toy. And you're still sitting there and talking like this. Oh, but it doesn't end there. Angela Latrine. I haven't spoken about Angela Latrine on this channel for a long time. I've said many times that while a lot of the rotarats are nasty people, while they're bigots, for most of them, it really just comes down to money, right? But Angela Latrine, on the other hand, I genuinely believe that there is something seriously wrong with this woman. Seriously wrong. I actually think that she is an obsessed stalker. The other royal rotarats, they're just obsessed with what goes in their pockets. But from what we understand now, Angela barely gets paid a few hundred per appearance, and apparently GB News never even paid her and owed her money. So you can't even say that Angela does this for the money, because what money? She's barely making a couple hundred per appearance. So why is she doing all of this? Because I think she's actually insane. And they are wheeling an insane woman out every other week to talk rubbish when she needs to be sat in a room with a psychiatrist and a therapist. Maybe also an exorcist. Listen to what she said on Talk TV.
So you don't think he's been eyeing up the throne during this Andrew crisis?
No, I don't think so. The other reason I don't think so is that he wants to look after his children as much as possible. He wants to be a father. He realises what a mess his childhood was like, and he wants to be there as often as possible and as long as possible to be there for him as a normal father, so that his children will go up more and more like a normal children.
I'm going to stand back because I'm going to light the touch paper. If you're listening to Angela Levin or watching, stand by for the ultimate question. I know you love her. Do you think Meghan Markle will have been rubbing her hands with glee over this latest crisis, Angela?
No, I think she'll be terrified, because if it's happened, she doesn't know what's going to happen to her, where she's been and what she's done. And I think she's very scared.
Really? What do you mean,
yes.
Where she's been and what she's done? You're not talking about Epstein's Island, are you?
Well, I'm just talking about generally how she's been, and I'm not going to go into that detail at all. But she's a naughty girl, isn't she? She's a nasty person.
So you don't think he's been eyeing up the throne during this Andrew crisis?
I think that Jeremy Vine is very aware that Angela Latrine, that there's something wrong with her. Because if you listen to his tone when he brought up Epstein and tried to insinuate in a way that would not get him destroyed by lawyers that Meghan has anything to do with that situation, the sarcasm in his voice. And even in her craziness, Angela is very careful about what she says. Oh, well, I know something, but I'm not going to tell you. You don't know anything. I think that eventually Angela is going to say something that could have her seriously incriminated, or something that's very libelous, I meant to say, sorry. I think she gets more and more insane with every appearance that she makes. And they're just going to keep wheeling this woman out until she says something that could end up with a libel lawsuit. And they're still attempting to bring Meghan into this mess. And they can't do it. The best that they can do is bringing these crazies on. Yes, Heather. Meghan is done with the royals that aren't Harry. Girl Lewis, she said that she's a raging lunatic. Indeed, she is. This is a lady who thinks that she knows Harry because I think she got one 15-minute interview with him or something, and Harry probably smelt the skank of her crazy back then. Black Lady, you said, oh, now they have money for Harry to be removed. I'm grossly reminded that some sick women have enabled these sicko men. Listen to how sympathetic her tone was to Prince Andrew versus Prince. Indeed, indeed. It is truly, truly gross. Crazy people. And we're only in February, folks. It's only February. It's only February, but it feels like August, does it not? It feels like August exhaustion already. Oh dear. Okay. Was there anything else I needed to cover before we... Oh, yes. Yes, there was a couple more things. Andrew Loney, who's also a royal writer, he has been saying for a while that, you know, there could be grounds for treason or espionage charges with Andrew. So have a listen to what he has to say.
Almost everything you've said has come to pass, hasn't it?
Yes, it's very gratifying to find that my sources were accurate. I mean, I knew they were. I did feel sometimes I was a bit of a lone voice, but it's very nice. A lot of people who were ostracizing me are now warming me, grabbing me by the hand, so that's great. And we've also got, I think, a bit more of a campaign for royal transparency now. Again, I felt I was a lone voice, but people now realise this is the only way they can survive.
Do you feel vindicated, Andrew?
Yeah, well, yes. I feel I loosened the earth a bit. I mean, I feel also we're getting justice for the victims, and I think we're holding to account some of the men who were responsible for these awful crimes.
I was watching it all sort of unfold, and we talked about, you know, how we both felt that he would be arrested. It's an ongoing case, so we have to be very careful. Tom Tugendhat was talking about how he believes there might well be a reason or a decision to look at a treason probe for both Prince Andrew, as was Prince Andrew, and Mandelson. What are your thoughts on that?
I think he's absolutely right. I mean, I've always said this is a national security scandal. Tim Shipman touched on this in his Spectator diary last week, using his contacts in Whitehall, the worry that Andrew's given away defence secrets. I've brandished an intelligence report on interviews that I got from American intelligence, only dated this year, showing the links with Russian intelligence. So, yes, this is going a lot way to go, and I think the charges against Andrew will be much more serious than people realise.
Almost everything you've said has come to pass, hasn't it?
Yes, it's very gratifying to find that my sources were accurate. I mean, I knew they were. I did feel sometimes I was a bit of a lone voice, but it's very nice. A lot of people...
I mean, there you go. I believe that we're only seeing the beginning of what is to come with this whole Andrew situation. And also, unfortunately, it seems like if he goes down, it will be for misconduct or some kind of espionage charge. I don't think they would charge him with actual treason. I think the laws around treason are quite old, and most of them have been replaced with espionage. So once again, the feelings of victims ignored. I'm still convinced that they are trying to create a narrative around Andrew's mental health. I think that's very, very deliberate. Also, in order to try and distract from all of this mess, they're bringing out everyone from the cupboard. The Duke of Kent is 19, still working. Most working royals are either in their 70s and 80s. Retirement age in the UK is 66. It's not surprising that the majority of young people aren't interested in the royals. Indeed. I actually saw a video of these two coming out of a building because, of course, they deployed all of the secret weapons. I could not name them. Now, I knew them by face because I've been in these royal streets for a while now, but I literally could not remember their names. Charles wanted that slimmed down monarchy. Well, it's a whole Ozempic monarchy now. An Ozempic monarchy with royals that just need to retire. Okay. I think I will wrap things up there. Let's have a quick check for your comments and then we will call it a day. Yeah, how would Angela Tree know how Meghan's feeling? She's psychic now? Yeah, Gwen, they would rather support Andrew. Mr. Yuso, listen to this toad blaming Andrew's deviant behavior on his messy childhood after years of saying Harry should grow up and get over his dysfunctional childhood. Indeed. Every excuse for Andrew. Because a lot of it is projection, them trying to excuse themselves. And with that, I will wrap up today's podcast. Thank you so much for joining. As always, folks, appreciate your presence, appreciate you coming. Links in the description box if you want to donate to the channel. It helps us keep going here at the Duchess of Success podcast. Appreciate y'all so much, and I'll see you tomorrow. Ciao.